Dear finance professionals and students, welcome to podcast of FCA Deepak Rao, a practicing chartered accountant. Weekly digest for week 2 of July 2025. The world awaits Donald Trump's tariff decision impacting global economies. Trump's power hinges on the US dollar's status. Trade deals are limited despite initial promises. He faces domestic and international pushback. The Fed resists rate cuts. Global growth slows, but equity markets rise. India remains stable but faces global economic headwinds. India and the United States may finalize a mini trade deal in the next 48 hours. Discussions are complete and negotiations for a larger deal will commence after July 9th. The mini trade deal is expected to have average tariffs of 10%. Further details are awaited as the situation develops. India is in talks for investment treaties with nations like Saudi Arabia and Russia. These treaties aim to protect and boost investments. Deals with some countries may finalize soon. The government wants to revamp investment treaties to attract foreign investors. India implemented treaties with UAE and Uzbekistan last year. The goal is to balance investor confidence and economic interests. The Securities and Exchange Board of India, or SEBI, has proposed a new framework for a dedicated SSE electronic book provider or SSE EBP platform aimed at streamlining fundraising by not-for-profit organizations or NPOs through the Social Stock Exchange or SSE. This initiative is part of SEBI's continued efforts to improve transparency, accessibility, and efficiency in the fundraising process for NPOs. Under the draft circular, NPOs intending to raise Rs 50 lakh or more, either in a single issue or through shelf issues, must mandatorily use the SSE EBP platform. Appliance makers like Samsung, LG, Godrej and Haier are betting big on AI-enabled products to drive growth, aiming for 60 to 70% of sales from smart appliances by 2025. With falling price gaps and rising demand for convenience, AI appliances are fast becoming mainstream in Indian homes. While premiumization has been a growing trend in durables over the last few years, consumers also want the best in terms of technology. The adoption of AI-based products is reflective of this broader need. Consumers are also replacing products faster than before as they wish to have better appliances. Borosil Renewables is winding down its German subsidiary due to challenges from Chinese solar panel dumping and insufficient protective measures leading to significant losses. The company will now focus on the growing Indian solar glass market, driven by strong demand, supportive policies, and anti-dumping duties on imports. Data reveals lenders are being careful with new borrowers. New to credit individuals get fewer retail loans in fiscal year 2025. Two-wheeler loans are an exception, with nearly half going to first-time borrowers. Banks are worried about loan quality. Many applicants lack stable jobs or proper documents. Multiple loan applications also lead to rejections. Indian electronics companies are seeking partnerships. They are looking at South Korean, Taiwanese and Japanese firms. This is for electronics component manufacturing. The reason is India's stance on Chinese investments. Companies like Dixon and Amber are finalizing proposals. The electronics component manufacturing scheme deadline is approaching. The scheme aims to boost domestic value addition. Adani Group has placed an unconditional bid of Rs 12,600 crore for Jai Prakash Associates amidst its insolvency resolution. Other contenders like Dalmia Bharat, Vedanta and Jindal Power have submitted bids contingent on the resolution of a land dispute. The Committee of Creditors has urged all bidders to revise their financial offers for the JP Group flagship firm. The National Housing Bank has mandated that housing finance companies must pay interest to borrowers on advance EMI payments held in sundry accounts, aligning with fair lending practices. The National Housing Bank is also urging housing finance companies to prioritize borrower quality over advance collections to mitigate default risks. The Finance Ministry has instructed public sector banks to expedite education loan processing, mandating decisions within 15 days and a centralized credit system. Rejections require higher authority approval and clear communication to students. Banks are aligning with the Vidya Lakshmi portal and must clear pending cases following government concerns about processing delays and documentation issues. In one of the biggest IT BPO deal in a decade, which also highlights the growing influence of AI in business operations, French technology giant Capgemini has agreed to acquire Indian origin business process management firm WNS for $3.3 billion in an all-cash transaction. Founded in Mumbai in 1996, WNS employs over 64,000 people globally, with about 20,000 in India across 12 cities including Mumbai, Chennai, Vizag and Indore. The deal is likely to have a substantial impact on Capgemini's already expansive Indian operations, where it currently employs around 150,000 professionals, nearly half its global headcount. Indian Institute of Technology Madras or IIT Madras is set to catalyze the launch of a Rs 200 crore venture capital fund called the IIT Alumni Fund, targeting the next generation of unicorns. With the number of startups emerging from IIT Madras increasing exponentially in recent years, the institute anticipates several more unicorns in the future and seeks to nurture these startups through careful investments that will help them scale. The Q1 earnings season, which begins with TCS announcing numbers on July 10th, is being seen as a crossover quarter, marking a transition from the low single-digit earnings growth seen in the early financial year 25 to a more sustained double-digit trajectory over the next 4 quarters. Oil marketing companies are leading this earnings recovery, with one firm, Paradeep Phosphates, anticipating gains exceeding 2,500%. HPCL is also expected to post significant growth driven by improved refining margins and marketing performance. ICICI Prudential AMC, India's second largest asset manager, has filed for an IPO with SEBI, aiming to raise up to Rs 10,000 crore through an offer for sale by Prudential Corporation Holdings. The IPO, managed by 18 merchant bankers, will now infuse capital into ICICI Prudential AMC but allows Prudential PLC to divest part of its stake. India is set to roll out a battery passport system to give electric vehicle owners detailed digital information about the batteries in use. The system will digitally record each battery's specifications, including its source, composition, performance, life cycle, and supply chain, and embed this data in a QR code. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has issued FAQs on guidance note for financial statements of non-corporate entities, effective for accounting periods beginning on or after April 1, 2024. It establishes a minimum disclosure requirement while allowing for the inclusion or substitution of line items relevant to specific industries, ensuring both standardization and flexibility. In line with ICAI's engagement standards, the document emphasizes the auditor's responsibility in reporting non-compliance by clients and provides clarity on whether such non-adherence requires a modified audit opinion. Lupin has signed a $50 million licensing deal with Zentiva for the global commercialization of its biosimilar targeting markets like the US, Canada, and Europe. Pune's office sector is set to surpass 10 million square feet and establish a new leasing benchmark in 2025. In the first half of 2025, the city recorded its highest gross leasing volume at 6.8 million square feet, ranking it among the top 4 office markets in India, alongside Bengaluru, Mumbai, and Delhi NCR. Pune is also expected to cross the historic high of 15 million square feet in new office supply by year-end. JSW Group aims to increase its stake in JSW MG Motor India as SAIC Motor prioritizes investments elsewhere. JSW intends to become the largest shareholder while SAIC continues providing technology and brand support. Simultaneously, JSW finalizes licensing agreements with Chinese automakers for electric passenger and commercial vehicles, focusing on localizing production amidst geopolitical tensions. Manipal Health Enterprises, backed by Temasek and TPG Capital, has acquired Sahyadri Hospitals from Ontario Teachers Pension Plan or OTPP for Rs 6,400 crore, strengthening its presence in Western India. This acquisition will increase Manipal's bed count to 12,000 nationwide. OTPP made a 2.6 times return on its investment in Sahyadri, which operates 11 facilities across Maharashtra. President Trump has declared new tariffs on imports from 7 nations set to commence on August 1, 2025. Algeria, Iraq, and Libya will face a 30% tariff, while Brunei, Moldova, and the Philippines will encounter a 25% tariff. This action follows Trump's July 7th announcement regarding delayed implementation of previously announced duties as the US finalizes trade agreements. Global tech giant Cisco is keen to continue expanding its footprint in India across manufacturing and research, but is cautious about further investment until global trade uncertainties ease. The firm said its local operations have exceeded internal expectations and positioned India as a viable export base within its global supply chain. The company began manufacturing in India around 18 months ago with one product and has since added 2 more, including a printed circuit board assembly. One of these products is now manufactured solely in India and exported globally. Donald Trump's fresh message to the global pharmaceutical industry to either shift manufacturing base to the US or be ready to face prohibitive tariffs of as high as 200% has Indian drug makers worried. While the tariff quantum looks too high to be real, they feel the need to diversify India's export destinations in a more agile fashion to compensate for any loss of the US market due to Trump's policies. India currently has a 13% share in the US generic drugs market by value, with its annual shipments worth about $10 billion. Currently, the Indian pharma exports to the US face 0 tariffs, while India retains a tariff of around 11% on an average, although duties have been progressively reduced on several life-saving medicines, including high-value ones, over recent years. Tata Autocom Systems and Czech Republic-based Skoda Group on Wednesday said they have set up a joint venture to manufacture railway propulsion systems and components in India. The JV involves a multi-million euro investment. The new company, to be jointly owned by the 2 partners, will focus on manufacturing converters, drives, and auxiliary converters for medium to high speed and regional trains, metros, and light rail vehicles. The manufacturing operations will be based in India. Following SEBI's allegations of market manipulation against Jane Street, the Income Tax Department is considering a probe into potential violations. The investigation will focus on General Anti-Avoidance Rules or GAR and Permanent Establishment Norms, examining the firm's structure involving Indian and offshore entities. Authorities suspect profits booked in Singapore may be reattributed to India, leading to significant tax implications. Ferrero, the company behind Nutella and Butterfinger, is set to acquire WK Kellogg, the cereal company, in a deal worth $3.1 billion. Ferrero Group will pay $23 per share for Kellogg, encompassing the production, promotion and distribution of breakfast cereals like Fruit Loops and Rice Krispies across the US, Canada and the Caribbean. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs has introduced a key amendment to the company's Corporate Social Responsibility Policy Rules 2014 through the company's Corporate Social Responsibility Policy Amendment Rules 2025. Effective from July 14, 2025, Form CSR-1, which was earlier filed in PDF format, will now be available as a web-based form on the MCA 21 portal. This move aligns with the government's broader objective to digitize compliance procedures and enhance ease of doing business. Bengaluru headquartered Manipal Hospital's valuation has jumped by at least $1 billion after the acquisition of Sahyadri Hospitals, reaching around $13 billion. This marks more than a threefold increase from the $3 billion valuation reported in 2021. The government plans to move oversight of the National Health Claims Exchange, or NHCX, a digital platform for processing health insurance claims, to the Finance Ministry from the Health Ministry to curb excessive charging by hospitals from insured patients, leading to a rise in annual health insurance premiums. The NHCX will be housed under the Department of Financial Services and will be regulated by the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority. India's securities regulator has temporarily banned Jane Street Group LLC. This action raises concerns about reduced trading volumes in the derivatives market. Shares of National Stock Exchange of India have declined. This follows a recent surge driven by IPO hopes. The ban on Jane Street may prompt tighter trading rules. This could further delay NSE's listing plans. Quick commerce platforms in India saw massive growth. Orders on Blinkit and Instamart reached Rs 64,000 crore in financial year 25. This is double the previous year. Revenue from platform fees also increased significantly. They expect the market to reach Rs 2 lakh crore by financial year 28. Companies are now focusing on profitability and efficiency. The Central Board of Direct Taxes, or CBDT, has officially notified the Indian Renewable Energy Development Agency, or IREDA, as a long-term specified asset for the purposes of Section 54EC of the Income Tax Act 1961. This move provides taxpayers with an additional avenue for capital gains exemption under the said section. Investors who earn capital gains and wish to claim exemption under Section 54EC can now consider IREDA bonds issued post 9 July 2025 as an eligible investment. By doing so, they can defer their tax liability while supporting the development of sustainable energy infrastructure in India. A company approached the Securities and Exchange Board of India, or SEBI, for informal guidance on whether a close-ended alternative investment fund, or AIF, can make new investments during its extended tenure, or whether it is restricted only to liquidating existing investments. SEBI's informal guidance affirms that close-ended AIFs are permitted to invest during their extended tenure, provided such investments are backed by governing documents and clearly disclosed to investors, aligning with the spirit of informed investor participation and fund governance. In a major relief for sovereign wealth funds and pension funds, the Ministry of Finance has extended the deadline for availing income tax exemptions under Section 10, subsection 23FE of the Income Tax Act 1961. According to CBDT notification issued on July 11, 2025, the new cutoff date for investments qualifying for exemption has been extended from March 31, 2025 to March 31, 2030. Reliance Infrastructure has received a 3-notch credit rating upgrade to B stable from India Ratings following significant debt reduction and improved financial performance. The company reduced its standalone debt from over rupees 3,000 crore to rupees 470 crore, marking a turnaround after 6 years of being rated in default. This podcast is sponsored by Sound of CA. We share because we care. Vande Mataram, Jai Hind.